The Milwaukee Bucks just made the most expensive mistake in NBA history. They're now paying Damian Lillard over $22 million for the next 5 years to literally sit at home and do nothing. Not play basketball, not even show up to practice, just collect checks while watching Netflix. And they did this insane move to sign Myles Turner, creating what might be the worst contract situation any team has ever willingly walked into. This isn't just another bad NBA trade. This is financial suicide disguised as team building. The Bucks stretched Lillard's remaining $113 million contract across 5 years, meaning they'll be paying him ghost money until 2030. Then they immediately turned around and gave Myles Turner a 4-year, $107 million deal. Do the math. That's essentially paying $220 million for one center who's never been an all-star. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Turner isn't even close to being worth that kind of money individually. He's a solid player, don't get me wrong, but when you factor in the dead money they're carrying for Dame, they're essentially valuing Turner at the same level as superstars like Nikola Jokic or Kevin Durant, players who have actually won championships and MVPs. Meanwhile, Turner's biggest career accomplishment is being really good at blocking shots for a Pacers team that couldn't close out the finals. The craziest part? Giannis apparently had no idea this was coming. Reports surfaced that he was, quote, not pleased with the team's decision to waive Lillard. Think about that for a second. Your franchise player, the guy you're supposedly doing all this for, finds out about a $250 million roster move through Twitter like the rest of us. That's either the worst front office communication in history, or Giannis is lying to save face. Speaking of Giannis, his social media activity after this news broke was absolutely telling. Cryptic posts, weird emojis, and that classic "I have no idea what's going on" energy that screams internal chaos. But honestly, he has zero right to complain. This is the same guy who's been threatening to leave Milwaukee for years, forcing management to make desperate moves to keep him happy. He wanted them to go all in, and now they've gone so far in that they're basically gambling the entire franchise's future on one season. The real victims here are the Indiana Pacers. Imagine being one game away from winning an NBA championship, having the perfect roster construction, and then your owner decides to get cheap at the worst possible moment. Herb Simon, the Pacers owner, is a shopping mall billionaire, which should tell you everything about his financial situation. Shopping malls aren't exactly thriving in 2025, so he's been pinching pennies for 2 decades. Here's the kicker though. The Pacers actually wanted to keep Turner. They offered him a 3-year, $60 million deal, which is honestly insulting for a player who was instrumental in their finals run. Meanwhile, the Bucks nearly doubled that offer without blinking. It's like watching your ex-girlfriend get treated like a queen by someone with deeper pockets, while you're still trying to split dinner checks. The new NBA luxury tax rules made this situation even worse for Indiana. Starting this season, teams face brutal penalties for going over the tax threshold. We're talking about paying up to $5 for every dollar you spend above certain levels. For an owner who hasn't paid luxury tax in 20 years, there was no way Simon was diving into those waters. So Turner walked, and now the Pacers have to watch their former star help their biggest rival while they scramble to find a replacement. But here's what nobody's talking about. Damian Lillard might actually be thrilled about this whole situation. Reports suggest he was, quote, elated about being waived. Think about his perspective. He's coming off a torn Achilles injury. He's about to turn 35, and he was clearly miserable in Milwaukee. Now he gets paid his full salary to rehab wherever he wants. And he gets to choose his next destination for the first time in his career. The Miami Heat are already circling like vultures, and they can sign Dame without giving up any assets since he's a free agent now. His championship odds just went through the roof. Plus, he avoids the brutal Milwaukee winters and gets to play in a system that actually fits his style. Sometimes getting waived is the best thing that can happen to a player, and Dame's situation is the perfect example. Now for the Milwaukee side of this chaos. On the surface, this looks like complete insanity, but there's actually a twisted genius to what they're doing. If this gamble works and they somehow make a championship run, then stretching Dame's contract will look like a masterstroke. Turner gives them exactly what they needed, a modern center who can protect the rim and space the floor next to Giannis. But if it fails, and Giannis decides he's had enough of Milwaukee's dysfunction, they're actually in a better position than before. Instead of having an aging, injured Damian Lillard with negative trade value, they now have Myles Turner, who's still in his prime and has real value around the league. If they need to rebuild, Turner becomes a valuable trade chip, and the dead money from Dame's contract actually helps them tank properly. The Eastern Conference landscape makes this gamble even more interesting. The Celtics are dealing with Jason Tatum's injury concerns. The Pacers just lost their best interior defender, and several other contenders are showing signs of decline. Milwaukee might have found the perfect window to make one last championship push with Giannis. But there's still the elephant in the room. What happens if this blows up in their faces? What if Turner gets injured, or Giannis demands a trade anyway, or they flame out in the first round of the playoffs? Then, Milwaukee becomes a cautionary tale about how not to build around a superstar. They'll be paying ghost money to a player who's probably winning championships somewhere else, while their franchise player bolts for a real contender. Pressure is absolutely crushing now. There's no safety net, no backup plan, and no financial flexibility for the next 5 years. Every game matters. Every injury could be catastrophic. And every locker room disagreement becomes a potential franchise-ending crisis. Milwaukee just bet everything on one season, and the entire basketball world is watching to see if they're geniuses or complete idiots. This move will be remembered as either the most brilliant, calculated risk in NBA history or the most expensive disaster ever created by a front office. There's no middle ground here. Milwaukee just showed us that in the modern NBA, teams are willing to mortgage their entire future for one shot at glory. The only question left is whether that shot actually goes in.